teams from George Wingate, Grover Cleveland, and Tottenville High Schools compete today on It's Academic. I'm Art James. Welcome to It's Academic, the weekly high school quiz. This evening, our winning team will receive for its school a 20-volume set of Merit Students' Encyclopedia, a superbly compiled general reference work created especially for the new generation of students, an authoritative guide for young researchers. Our other two schools will receive this Macmillan Book of Proverbs, one of the most comprehensive books of its kind, America's favorite book of best-loved and most quoted proverbs, maxims, and phrases. These three teams are meeting for the first time. Let me introduce them to you now. Team number one from Brooklyn, New York, George Wingate High School, Myra Kirchhoff, Captain Chester Spatt, and Robert Lewinson. And now team number two from Ridgewood, New York, Grover Cleveland High School, Barbara Lamprecht, Captain Nancy Razikas, and Barbara Sosnick. And now, team number three from Staten Island, New York, Tottenville High School, Doug Falkenberg, Captain Roger Solberg, and Paul Bardak. The team positions were chosen by lot before the program. And now let me introduce our three faculty representatives who will act as official scorekeepers. This evening, they are Mr. Carl Larson of Tottenville High School, Miss Glencora McDonald of Grover Cleveland High School, and Mr. Fred Goldhaber of George Wingate High School. All questions have been carefully researched and checked, and we will be back to start the match after this. George Wingate, team ready?
Ready.
They are. Nancy of Grover Cleveland selects their pack.
Packet 4, please.
And the competition begins. An Indian would walk comfortably in these soft shoes, but you'd hobble painfully if you stepped on a water snake by the same name. What is it?
Moccasin.
Right. Even atheists pepper their conversations with biblical allusions. What king of Israel is usually mentioned when describing a person's wisdom?
King Solomon.
Right. This is choice. In colonial times, it was necessary to prime a rifle before firing it. But did the pump priming of the New Deal refer to FDR's stimulation of industry, new irrigation plants, or court packing plans?
First.
Stimulation.
The first, yes. Had Australia been named for the man who first claimed it for Britain, it would bear what name that identifies the job favored by James Beard and Graham Kerr? Name him.
Yes.
Captain James Cook. Choice. One advantage of having two eyes is that the brain can use the signals from one eye to compensate for the blind spot at the junction of the optic nerve, optic artery, or optic sphincter in the other eye.
Optic nerve.
Chester.
Optic nerve.
Right. You might find Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. I haven't finished that, and George Wingate has 40 points. Now we move to team number two, Grover Cleveland, ready.
Yes.
They are ready, and Roger of Tottenville selects their pack.
Packet 8, please.
First round questions for Grover Cleveland. It is a commonly held superstition among sailors that it's unlucky to shoot what large web-footed bird who appears in Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner?
Albatross.
Right. In this year of congressional elections, there are a few politicians who don't at least occasionally beat around what proverbial vegetation that sounds like...
Bush.
Yes. Choice. John Lindsay won his last re-election campaign with a plurality of the votes. Does this mean that he received over 50% of the votes, under 25%, or under 50% but more than anyone else?
Third.
Right. Mythological characters might mistake Esther Williams or Chris von Salza for naiads, nymphs who lived in what liquid often called aqua pura?
Water.
Yes. The biography entitled Front Page Pioneer tells the story of what Midwestern newspaperman whose name is now associated with a literary award and the city of St. Louis?
Joseph Pulitzer.
Right. Choice. The solar system model of the atom differed from the actual solar system in that the electrons are held... Haven't finished that. And Grover Cleveland has 50. We move now to team number 3, Tottenville ready.
Ready.
Team is ready. Chester of George Wingate selects the pack.
Packet 3.
Here we go, Tottenville. Instant coffee and instant puddings are frequently featured in TV commercials, but what other instant seen on TV? Sports coverage.
Replay.
Right. Mocking the American colonists fighting in the French and Indian Wars, British surgeon Richard Shuckburgh added verses to what song popular in the Revolution that gave Americans their nickname?
Yankee Doodle.
Right. Choice. If your high school class wanted to hold a discussion on the Cambodian crisis, would Jarris Leonard, Henry Kissinger, or Virginia Nauer be best qualified to lead it?
Kissinger.
Right. Arizona's famed organ pipe cactus may frighten tourists with its sharp spines, but according to the name of an Arizona forest, it scared the trees into what stony...
Petrified.
Right. Although the English poet John Masefield admitted to seasickness, he's most famous for what poem about his love of the sea that ironically sounds...
Ships.
No, sea fever. Choice. Rotating crops with clover will improve harvest because bacteria that grow on the clover plant have the ability to fix nitrogen, produce phosphorus compounds, or produce potassium.
Fix nitrogen.
You're right. And that's it. Tottenville has 50. Recapping the scores at the end of the first round. George Wingate High School has 40. Grover Cleveland has 50, and they are tied with Tottenville. We will be back for round 2 after this. There are penalties involved in the second round. 10-point penalty for a wrong answer, 5-point penalty for a passed question. When the buzzer sounds at the end of the question period, the other two teams can go for passed questions. 10 points for a correct answer. George Wingate, ready.
Ready.
Team is ready. Nancy selects their pack.
12, please.
Here we go, Wingate. Number 1 for 8 years in the annual popularity poll magazine. What group that founded Apple Records finally slipped to second place?
The Beatles.
Right. Choice. Aspiring golfers might gain inspiration from wearing an Arnold Palmer shirt, but would young tennis players want equipment signed by Tony Roche, Fran Tarkington, or...
Roche.
Right. The Black Hills of South Dakota draw thousands of tourists. But less appealing is what desolate area of the state whose name sounds like a misbehaving territory.
Pass.
Over to your monitors now. Complete the mathematical statement on the monitor.
Tangent B.
Right. Guns will make us powerful. Butter will only make us fat was the way what infamous Nazi air marshal explained the Nazi policy of giving first priority to military spending.
Goring.
Yes. If author John Marquand had given a reception for his fictional characters, he might have worried beforehand how his proper Bostonian George Apley would get along with what Japanese detective?
Charlie Chan.
Mr. Moto. Choice is the name of the process whereby water evaporates from leaf tissue and diffuses through the stomata called transportation, circulation, or transpiration.
Transpiration.
Right. If a basketball team wins 20 games and loses 5, haven't finished that. And I was going for the percentage of games won, 80%. Grover Cleveland, you are going for the pass question.
Badlands.
Badlands is right. They have another 10. George Wingate has 75. And we are going now to team number 2, Grover Cleveland High School. Ready?
Yes.
Team is ready. Roger selects the pack.
5.
Packet 5. Second round questions for Grover Cleveland. Although his presidential defeat dampened his usually buoyant spirits, what Minnesota politician is again smiling after regaining...
Humphrey.
Right. Gainsborough's boy may look fetching in this hue, but had it not been for the work of Dr. Alfred Blaylock, babies born of what same color had little chance...
Blue.
Right. Choice, and wait. If you are traveling through Europe and in France sought une chambre and in Italy ein Zimmer, would you want rest, food, or entertainment?
Rest.
A room, you're right. Over to your monitors. Determine the value of K so that x minus 4 is a factor of the equation shown.
9.
8. Tourists in Europe try to be in Germany for the Oktoberfest, the famed fall fling of what Bavarian capital, associated with Hitler's 1939 meeting with... Pardon?
Munich.
Munich, yes. If you lived in the capital city of Lomé, you'd be a citizen of what small West African nation that sounds like the garment you'd wear had you been a citizen of ancient Rome? Name either.
Toga.
Yes, Togo. Choice. Coordination of an organism like man is the function of the nervous and endocrine systems. Of the two systems, the nervous system has more control over metabolism, coordination, or immediate responses.
Immediate responses.
Right. What number should be added to x squared? I haven't finished that. Grover Cleveland has 110. All right, we move to team number 3 now. Tottenville High School, ready.
Ready.
They are. Chester of George Wingate selects the pack.
Packet 7, please.
Here we go. He once ruled Alabama through his wife's office, but what one
Wallace.
Right. Choice. If Whittier's aged heroine Barbara Frietchie were alive today, would she be most critical of those who ignore pollution, burn the American flag, or decry male chauvinism?
Pass.
Choice. The English singing group called the Trogs took their name from troglodyte. Were they in fact troglodytes? Would you find them in a tree, in a cave, or...
Cave.
Right. Over your monitor, simplify the expression.
4.
1. Looking for first aid in ancient Rome, you'd be in luck to come across what tailor, whose touch was gentle enough to remove a thorn from a lion's paw. His kindness later saved his life.
Andrew, please.
Right. The Bible tells us to beat our swords into plowshares. One Greek city, however, used its old weapons to form a giant statue of the sun god Helios. On what Aegean island was it built?
Pass.
Choice. Which of the following terms is used to describe the protective blanket of air that surrounds the Earth, lessening the extremes of heat and cold between day and night? Polarizing effect, greenhouse effect, or barometric?
Greenhouse.
Right. If the volume of a cube is 27 cubic inches, what's its surface area?
9.
No, 54 square inches. Choice. At a masquerade party for... all right. Pass questions. Grover Cleveland, I recognize you for 1. Remove your finger from the buzzer.
Burn the American flag.
That's right. They have another 10 points. The other pass question. The Aegean island we're referring to is Rhodes, and Tottenville now has 60 points. Here are the scores at the end of the second round now. George Wingate High School has 75. Our leader with 120 is Grover Cleveland, and Tottenville has 60. We'll be back for questions in the third round after this message. George Wingate, do you double?
Yes.
Team does. Nancy of Grover Cleveland selects the pack.
11, please.
Third round begins. Although butterflies are noted for their delicate frame and fragile beauty, a current pop group has described themselves as what more...
I Am Butterfly.
Right. Now wait for this. Samuel Gompers began his labor career as president of the union that makes what rolled leaf tobacco products?
Cigars.
Right. Young people today hope, figuratively speaking, to move the world, but what Greek scholar stated that if he were correctly placed and suitably inclined, he could literally do the job?
Aristotle.
Archimedes. Over to your monitors. This is Choice. This sculpture of an emaciated human figure classified as a perfect expression of existential pessimism was done by which of these? Rodin, Dürer, or Giacometti?
Pass.
Giacometti. A Rose is a Rose is a Rose would be an appropriate title for a biography of what noted American woman who always wears...
Lawrence.
Pardon?
Gertrude Lawrence.
Margaret Chase Smith, who wears a rose when she sits in the Senate. Groups against women's liberation might identify with the Roman goddess Vesta, deity of what part of the house, which appears along with the cloister in the title of a novel by Charles Reade?
Pass.
Choice. Human white blood cells and amoeba both use what process to engulf their prey? Phagocytosis, lipid excretion?
Phagocytosis.
That's right. What's the ratio of a pint to a gallon? 1 to what?
8.
Right. If you were an actor auditioning for the part of Ham in a play by Beckett, you'd be seeking a part in what drama whose title sounds like the conclusion of a frolic? Answer or pass?
Pass.
They pass. 2 pass questions. The last question I phrased, the answer is endgame. And the previous question that Wingate passed, the answer to that is hearth, from the cloister and the hearth. George Wingate now has 85 points. And now we move to team number 2, Grover Cleveland. Ready? Do you double?
Yes.
They do double. Roger of Tottenville selects the pack.
15, please.
Here we go. Grover Cleveland. E.B. White used half a proverb to entitle his work One Man's Meat. If a literary critic wanted to pan White, he might describe the book by using what phrase which completes the proverb?
Pass.
Choice. Were you looking for a Christmas present for Chekhov's 3 sisters, a ticket to Moscow would be appropriate, but would Captain Ahab most appreciate a hornpipe, a harpoon, or a pair of socks?
Harpoon.
Right. Jack London wrote about wolves in his Stories of the North, but the title of a play by Lillian Hellman mentions what other wild member of the canine family often hunted with hounds for sport?
Fox.
Fox.
Foxes. Okay. Audio monitors. Edward Hicks, the painter of this allegorical work entitled The Peaceful Kingdom, was born in what middle Atlantic state whose Quaker founder frequently appears in the background of his painting?
Pennsylvania.
Right. The fairy tale emperor who got into trouble with his new wardrobe should have heeded what American who advised, beware of all enterprises that require new clothes. He wrote the famous essay on civil disobedience.
Thoreau.
Yes. The name of a California geographical area promises death, while an Idaho equivalent offers sun. Name this type of topographical depression.
Valley.
Pardon?
Valley.
Yes. Choice. Igneous rocks are formed from magma or lava. Which of the following are not igneous rocks? Granite, basalt, shale, or obsidian?
Shell.
Shale, right. What's the sum of the numbers between 5 and 9 inclusive?
35.
Right. All right. Now we have one past question. Nobody's going for it. The other half of one man's meat is another man's poison. And Grover Cleveland has 250. Now we move to team number 3, Tottenville. Do you double?
Yes.
The team doubles. Chester of Wingate selects the
6,
pack.
please.
Pardon?
6, please.
Third round questions for Tottenville. The muse Terpsichore derived her name from the Greek word meaning love of what pastime, which made Arthur Murray a wealthy man?
Dancing.
Right. Choice. If you read about Furies and a Grand Wizard, you might be looking at the organization chart of which of the following groups? The Wobblies, the Ku Klux Klan, or the United Mine Workers?
Wobblies.
Ku Klux Klan. Called the Black Country because of smoke and soot, what English industrial city has the same name as an important steel-producing city in Alabama?
Birmingham.
Right. Over to your monitors. This is choice. You see the fighting Temeraire by what English painter whose imaginative representation of light, mist, and smoke set him apart from the romantic landscapists of his day? Whistler, Turner, or Chagall?
Whistler.
Turner. Campus radicals who adapt the technique of what early English terrorist should recall that though what guy is heralded by English children each November...
Fawkes.
Fawkes, right. Of the 3 concerns named in Robert Finch's former cabinet post, which would be of most concern to Hyman Kaplan, according to the title of Leonard Q. Ross's...
Education.
Right. The Persian word for quatrain or 4-line verse is the title of the book for which this author is known in the English-speaking world. Name the book or author.
Pass.
Choice. A photoelectric cell may contain as its sensitive surface a coating of cesium, copper, or...
Cesium.
Yes. A circle passes through the point 0, 0 and has its center at the point 2, 0. What's its diameter?
4.
Right. Okay, past question. The answer to the past question is the Rubaiyat or Omar Khayyam, and Tottenville now has 130. Well, let's recap the scores at the end of the third round now. George Wingate's current total is 85. Grover Cleveland still leads. They now have 250, and Tottenville has 130. We will be back for the grab bag, the all-important free-for-all, after this message. This is the crucial grab bag, a free-for-all. The team answering first correctly gets 20 points. There's a 20-point penalty for a wrong answer. 3 short buzzers means 1 minute to go. Good luck, teams. Move fast and speak up. Atlanta's baseball team, the Braves, may have superior moral stamina, but the name of what Oakland baseball team promises more? Tottenville.
Athletics.
Right. A marriage ceremony could easily be sidetracked if a flower girl stepped on what part of the bride's wedding gown that shares its name? Tottenville.
Train.
Right. Despite his successes in the cabinet, the Supreme Court, and the UN, what? George Wingate.
Arthur Goldberg.
Yes. Hungry Britishers might partake of fish and chips, but the title of what satirical novel by Somerset Maugham names an equally British, though different, repast? Tottenville.
Moon and Sixpence.
No. Cakes and Ale. Tisa Farrow, Mia's younger sister, makes her film debut in a sad story of Midwestern farm people given what title that names the author of the Iliad? Wingate.
Homer.
Right. William Lloyd Garrison was a white abolitionist, but the cause was also pursued by such black leaders as what publisher of the North Star, whose last name sounds like that of Lincoln's famous debate rival?
Douglas.
That's right for Cleveland. This is choice. The gas laws learned in high school chemistry that volume is directly proportional to temperature and inversely proportional to pressure only hold for monatomic gases, ideal gases. Wingate.
Ideal gas.
You're right. Icing is usually thought to be an indispensable part of a cake, but in what sport does it constitute? Wingate.
Hockey.
Right. What is 500% of 30? Wingate.
150.
Right. Psychology students learn about peer groups, but students of literature study what other peer, the title character of a play by... Tottenville.
Peer Gynt.
Peer Gynt, right. It took a lot of heart, but the Michigan Democrats kept their man in the Senate by defeating the wife of what's... Wingate.
George Romney.
Right. Choice. Two molecules which have the same molecular formula but differ in the arrangement of their atoms are called which of the following? Isomers, isotopes, or isotherms? Tottenville.
Isomers.
Right. Egal Yadin's story of Masada tells of what Hebrew king's lavish palace fortress used by Salome as a dance hall? Herod. Many young people call the contemporary period the Age of Aquarius, but W.H. Auden noted the worrisome nature of our time in the title of what Pulitzer Prize-winning poetic work? Wingate.
The Unknown Citizen.
No, The Age of Anxiety. Inspired by the success of Sesame Street, TV producer Frank Buxton has written what educationally entertaining program that sounds as though it should be served with mustard? Grover Cleveland.
Sesame Street.
Hot dog. Choice. The fact that water and ethyl alcohol are soluble in any ratio implies that if you mix exactly 1 liter of each, the volume of the resulting solution will be exactly 2 liters, less than 2 liters.
Less than 2 liters.
That's right. Joseph Addison might well support today's blue laws because he felt that what day clears away the rust of the whole week? Tottenville.
Sunday.
Yes. How many planes can be tangent to a sphere at a given point of the sphere? I don't see your light. Tottenville.
1.
Right. Name identification always helps a politician. It's interesting to note that the last name of the governor of Indiana... All right, the game is over. We have a tie. I'm going to throw up one question that goes for Grover Cleveland and Tottenville. Here we go. The Jolly Green Giant's famous laugh may in fact not be a laugh at all, but a triple request for what agricultural tool? Grover Cleveland.
Aha!
That's it. Grover Cleveland wins. As though Grover Cleveland has done it. The judges will verify the scores and will announce the winner after this. Scores of a wild and woolly match. George Wingate ends up with 185 points. Our other runner-up with 250 is Tottenville. And our winner with 270, Grover Cleveland High School. Grover Cleveland will return in 2 weeks to defend itself in a playoff with 2 other winning teams. Next week, you'll see a match with Richmond Hill, John Dewey, and Evander Childs High Schools. See you next week, everybody, on It's Academic. Bye-bye.